Good evening and God bless you. Welcome to our Bible study and praying sessions. May God keep honoring you and yours in Jesus' name. Amen. We're looking at the risks of the youth. And we want to look at the risk of their being dependent on their caregivers. The risk of their being dependent on their caregivers. Psalm 123 verse 2. It says, "Behold, as the eyes of the servants look unto the hand of their masters, and as the eyes of a maiden unto the hand of her mistress, so our eyes wait upon the Lord our God, until he have mercy upon us." So the eyes of the youths, the eyes of children, the eyes of servants, of maids, look unto their caregivers. The eyes of the children look up to their parents or caregivers, and this dependence also makes them vulnerable, very vulnerable to those who are their caregivers. If they are bad, they become victims of the wickedness of the caregivers. If the caregivers are good, they benefit from them. I remember that one of my nannies, she's a twin, a big girl, so several years ago, she's a twin, and this lady, her twin sister, was living with somebody. By the time I met them, she was a little bit mental. The sister was a little bit mental. She had mental, I don't know, she was no longer optimal. I asked them what was the problem, and both of them were intercessors at that time. That was about 15 years ago. My nanny that time, about 15 years ago, or thereabouts. So I asked her what happened to her. I asked the aunt what happened to the sister. She said that it was the person she was living with. That the person, one day when only two of them were at home, the man brought a mirror and told her to cross the mirror. She said she wasn't crossing the mirror. She said, "Why won't you cross the mirror? I take care of you, I buy you clothes, I pay you money, I do this for you and do that for you." She said she wasn't going to cross the mirror. So you must cross it. And they were struggling because he kept the mirror at the corridor. They had to come and kept the mirror there. They had to come. She said she wasn't crossing the mirror. She removed the mirror before she could cross. She said no. When they were struggling, I think she fell on the mirror or something. And the man said he was going to deal with her. And then from there, she became ill. And 6 months she was admitted for 3 months at UNTH, 2 months at orthopedic. Eventually, she was 6 months of being admitted in the hospital. Eventually, she was discharged, but she never became normal till today. More than 15 years ago. Then the sister was 28 years old. Then, imagine, she was already in her youth. And whatever glories that has been designed by God that she was going to carry, the caregivers disrupted it and destroyed it. Unless she goes through a deliverance session that makes her, because she's a Christian and she's been going through deliverance and all manner, but she's never been normal. So that's how that star was quenched. I remember another story of when we were still doing intercessions alone. There was a place we were praying, and there was this woman that was the state prayer coordinator of a church. She also was coming there to pray. That particular day, she came there with one girl. She said she wanted the girl to see me. I said, "What for?" She said that this girl, and then the girl came. The girl was wriggling like a snake. I said, "Why are you wriggling like a snake?" I thought it was just one-off thing. She kept doing it. And she was sick. I said, and there was no medical explanation for that. So why are you looking like a snake? Why are you doing that? She told me that a snake lives inside her. I said, snake lives inside you? The snake lives inside you? How? She said that every movement she made was movement of the snake. If the snake was quiet, she would be quiet. It was uncontrollable. It was involuntary. After what happened, she said that she had gone somewhere to live with somebody when she was a child, and she couldn't stay there long. Then they had issues and she came back. And when they brought her home, she said that it was because she had an attachment to, there was a spiritual attachment to a particular tree in their compound. That they had to sever her from that tree. Imagine in this generation, sever her from that tree that she was attached to. And they did the rituals to sever her from that tree that she was whatever they did, for which she could now go, and not that the tree was drawing her back to the town. That was why she couldn't stay long where she was. All forms of strange beliefs. And then after some time, the father's cousin, the uncle, father's cousin, the uncle of the girl, I don't know whether it's father's cousin or father's brother, came for her, and then she went to stay with the uncle. And they were maltreating her. And so what she was doing was, when they beat her at home, she will now go to school and beat the children at school. Then one day, one of the school teachers saw her beating the child, was crying. Next time when I cried, he said that the girl beats her. And I called the girl, said, why are you beating the girl? He said that it was what the parents were doing to her at home, that she was doing the child at school, that any day they beat her at home, she would beat the children in school. Then the school auntie now told her that it was not fair. Why? She said that where she was being maltreated, this and that. The school auntie said she was going to intervene, and then so that they wouldn't be beating her anyhow. And the school auntie, in her simplicity, now when the mother came to take them from home, she now called the mother and said, see what happened today. When you beat this girl in school, at home, she beats her child in school. Stop beating her for the sake of your children. Mother said, stop beating her. And she felt she had already brokered peace between two of them. The mother said no. The woman said no problem. Then she took them home and told her husband, called her husband. The husband came back. And when he came back, she narrated what happened. One said, you beat my child. I said, okay. He didn't touch her. He went and told her to go and wear her clothes and wear her sandals. She wore her sandals and wore her clothes, and the man drove her out. And they went somewhere. She said where they went was very far. She didn't even know the route. And then the man reached a particular place and parked the car there, and told them, said she gave the story herself. Started going to one place, and when they reached there, one horse like that. She was told to sit down. She sat down. The Baba now came out, and the Baba and the man finished talking. And said that they would teach her a lesson. She was still wondering what was going on. The dangers of being in the hands of a wrong caregiver. So the Baba now put 3 stones and made the tripod. Then got a earthen pot. Earthen, I don't know what they call it in my place. It's like a vessel. But I know it's like a plate, but a earthen pot, but with a wide rim. Told her to then make a fire and put that in, told her to spread her legs on the fire. She was crying. The fumes from that thing the man was doing was entering her body. And when all the fumes were out, the man brought her out. Then she was already burning. She keeps it from that time. The Baba told the man, don't worry, that this is permanent, forever permanent vengeance on her. And the serpent will live in her body. And the serpent has been planted into her body and will live there forever and torment her for tormenting this man's children. From that time, the serpent was living. She knew the serpent was, but each time the serpent made a move, her body would move. At this time, she was already in university. So by the time she was born, she was in university, and she couldn't continue schooling because she couldn't stay in one vehicle. Any place she entered, if she was in a vehicle, anywhere where she was entered, she was going to distract everybody with that strange movement. So she couldn't be normal anymore. If there was any glory that God had designed for this lady to carry, somebody had aborted it. the caregiver she was dependent on had aborted it. She now said that when she came back from the trips, from that trip, she now said she was going. They returned her home, and after a long case, nothing would be. They said it was irreversible. She went to all the prayers. She went to pray churches for deliverance. Nothing was happening. And to make matters worse, the family now said, let them. There was a stream. They said that there was one stream they should consult. And if they went to that stream, that the goddess of that stream was going to give her full deliverance. And then she said she wasn't going to go to the stream, that she was a Christian. Then I told her, okay, what happened that they would take her appendage, they took the nail and the hair. And I think she said they took one of her sandals or something to present it to the goddess of the river. While they will now use a container to bring water from the goddess of the river for her to bath at home. Once she baths at home, that was the ritual. So they took her nail, they took her sandals, they took her hair, and took it to the. I think they said she should write whatever she wanted. She wrote it that she wanted deliverance, and the water goddess should please help her out. They took so imagine the Christians called Christian. They took this thing to the water goddess, and after that she now bathed with the water. From that time onwards, she said that her problem became complex because anytime she was, the water goddess was always around her, tormenting her life. There's no deliverance from the powers of darkness. They can only double your bondage. And after that time, she's a very beautiful girl, very beautiful girl, tall, fair. Now all her beauty, all her destinies, nobody was talking about destiny anymore. Nobody was talking about what she was supposed to be anymore. Talking about how to make her stay in one place like a human being, because she would just wriggle and wriggle. She wriggled and wriggled. She couldn't stay in any place. She couldn't stay 1 minute without wriggling, because it was involuntary. And she said the snake controls her life and makes love to her at will. What should she said? The kingdom of darkness is a terrible place. Why? Because she had very bad caregivers. If the caregivers are bad, whether they be pastors, I've seen also those who became reprobates because of people that discipled them, mentored them, became their pastors. One pastor was in my house several years ago, about 20 years ago, or 18 years ago. He was telling me how he entered the ministry, but they were the ones that organized girls for their GO. They organized girls for the GO. And he told me that they didn't say anything wrong with that, because the GO told him that he has reached the level of David where he could do anything and God will overlook it. And so they believed, I don't know whether it was juju or something, they believed the GO so much. They said that they were the ones, every night if they have programs, they will stay in one room, GO will stay with one room with other girls. The caregivers, if the people you depend on are reprobates and you don't have discernment, they will destroy your destiny. They will destroy your ability to carry God's glory. I know a ministry where the GO tells the female ministers in that job that something from him must enter you. That also it officially must enter you for you to for you to fulfill your mandate. And then they'll be grooming you. A time comes when it's the wife of the GO that will tell you that it's your time to sleep with the GO for your hair to be activated. A lady came there to meet me. She was telling me that she was chosen to be among those who were washing the underwears of the GO, because the virgins were the ones that washed the underwears of the GO in the ministry that is called by God's name. An end-time ministry that prepares people for heaven with intense discipleship. But the females there see how the people they are. As time continued, then, hey God, the people he was raping, there were many there. So people will come out to give their lives to Christ, but they enter the wrong place, and the caregivers in those wrong places can destroy them. Many of them lost their virginity to that GO. And he tells that you are privileged to be the one that will wash his underwears. the risk, the youth, one of the risks of the youth is that because they need to be mentored, they need to be groomed, they need to grow, they need to be tutored. People that they depend on for this growing, mentoring can mar their destinies if they don't have discernment. If God doesn't help them, they enter the wrong hands. I also know a lady that told my pastor, she told the pastor, she went for deliverance in that church, in the ministry church. So, but this kind of church that conduct deliverance. So she went to the man for they finished their deliverance sessions, and then on the last of deliverance, now told them, see, what God has delivered you. Now live a good life, so that best things will happen to you. Don't follow males. She said she's not following males, but are you a virgin? They're not a virgin, but she doesn't follow males. And she told the man of God that the only problem she has with this deliverance is that her father pays their school fees and the father sleeps with them. If you come and father was a military man, if you demand for money, she said, mount the bed. He will sleep with you, and how much do you want? Mount the bed, sleep with you, and give you the money. The biological father. She told the pastor that she would never even think about having a boyfriend because the burden of her father was too much on her. She said in this UNN. That school fees, handouts, whatever it did, the man, he will give you the money, but he will sleep with you. And because she was dependent on the man, she couldn't leave home. So say, don't talk about, say, anything I'm going to do for God will be when I've graduated and I've got a good job, like I cut off from my dad. But until that time, I asked the man of God, are you going to train me? And she lives a good lifestyle. Same thing with her siblings, but at the expense of living with their dad. Incest. And so, don't you think that thing will destroy her ability to carry God's glory unless God intervenes, maybe she repents fully and then she's delivered, or whatever it is, and she's restored? It has already affected her ability to carry God's glory, because she won't even, she said she would not, what would she do? She said that if she was keeping, if it was a male friend that was doing this to her, she would say, okay, but biological father did that to her. So if the caregivers are evil, they can affect the lives of those. Sometimes it happens when children are small, those who are nannying them. I know one time that God showed me that about how some nannies initiate those whom they're taking care of. I also know one of my patients that told me how she has suffered in life, because the nannies always tell them, they always pregnant the nannies. Every time the nanny will come, tell them one story, and they tell them that she lost her. She said they didn't even know what was involved. Nanny would just come and gather all of them together. That and she was a very good girl to them. That they gave her money to buy food, and she lost that she put the money in her waist and it entered into her body. And they should help her look for the money. She opened her legs and they'll be looking for the money inside, fingering her. They didn't even know it was fingering that time. And they would be, she would be crying and telling them, don't tell daddy, don't tell them that. When daddy would go, they say, come and keep looking for the money again. All the children. What kind of thing was that? I also know many caregivers that it was the family, young girls, that it was the family that they were taken into, kept raping them. One of my kept raping them as children. Kept raping them, and they had no choice. See, if you say it, you're gone. If you say it, you're dead. So the way the eyes of the maids look up to their mistress for help, the way the eyes of the servants look up to their masters, that is the way youth look up to those who are their bosses, politically, even in politics, religiously, spiritually, at home, everywhere. Even in politics, sometimes they will not. Even you who want to enter politics, those who are going to mentor you, they'll tell you the things they are doing, which you cannot even do. One man will say that he was supposed to come for one election, so you now say, being a barrister, he was ready, he had all the money, he had made all the money, and willing to. And then they now told him that he wants to be here. So are you going to do? Say, what can you not do here? Pass through school. They took him to where they First of all, they gave him the taste to do, give him a gun. Hi! The man said he has never shot anybody. He said, oh, you want to be and you have not, you don't know, you can't do this without killing. The politics in this country, your hand must be soiled. Everything was told. And so those who mentor you, sometimes they take you to places where you're going to swear allegiance to them. Swear allegiance to them. I even know in ministries where before you are made a pastor, you are going to swear allegiance to. You are going to swear. I know it's covenant. Before they can begin to mentor you, you will swear it with your blood, with your life. If you ever go, I heard man of God say that he can kill you. I heard him say that if you ever betray him, he's going to kill you. And so their caregivers, dependent on those whom they have been given to mentor them, to bring them to the glory that God wants, to the level that God wants to see them to carry the glory, that they are messed up. That is why the vulnerability of the youth is also a risk for them, because they don't have discernment, strength of will, strong determination, like Daniel that proposed in his heart not to defy himself. They will defy themselves. Same thing, the caregivers of Daniel were going to defy them. The caregivers were going to defy them because of the king's instructions. And at that time, there could be an exchange. The glory you're supposed to carry, can't carry it anymore. Why? Because it has been truncated by your caregivers. If you look at the book of 2 Samuel chapter 4, verse 4, it says, and Jonathan, Saul's son, had a son that was lame of his feet. He was 5 years old when the tidings came of Saul and Jonathan out of Jezreel, and his nurse took him up and fled. And it came to pass, as she made haste to flee, that he fell and became lame, and his name was Mephibosheth. So, while there was an evil news and the nurse was trying to protect him, he fell, and that falling destroyed his potential to become great. He was now lame. All the days of his life, his lameness was what caused him all the troubles. Remember how the father servant Ziba, who should have been bowing to him, but because he was at Lodiba, somebody else was taking care of him because he was lame in his feet. And so all those who should be his servants were not the ones making mockery of him. Ziba also took advantage of his being lame in his feet and outwitted him before David and collected part of his belongings. Because he was lame in his feet. If he was not lame in his feet, he would have achieved his potential. At least even if he was not a king, the royal nature of the king's lineage would be there. But then he was at Lodiba. Then eventually he was known as someone who was lame in his feet, very bad, because the caregiver made one move, albeit she was not an evil move anyway, but that move she made destroyed this man's potential to run, to enter into the army. He was known for his lameness to the day of his death. In 2 Chronicles chapter 22, from verse 10, the Bible says, but when Athaliah, the mother of Ahaziah, saw that her son was dead, she arose and destroyed all the seed royal of the house of Judah. But Jehoshabeath, daughter of the king, took Joash, the son of Ahaziah, and stole him from among the king's sons that was slain, and put him and his nurse in a bedchamber. So Jehoshabeath, the daughter of King Jehoram, wife of Jehoiada the priest, for she was the sister of Ahaziah, hid him from Athaliah, so that she slew him not. And he was with them hid in the house of God 6 years, and Athaliah reigned over the land. Athaliah's son was killed. And then she now wanted to revenge by killing every other person that had the seed of royalty in him. trying to kill all the males so that she would reign. Who was she killing? Those who are supposed to be the youth, upcoming youth. Those who had the potential to replace the son, she killed them. And even the son's children, she killed them. They were males. And they took over. Because at this place, that time they are vulnerable. This Joash was lucky that the aunt stole him away and hid him, because the aunt was the wife of Jehoiada the priest, stole him away and hid him with the nurse inside the chamber. See, when you enter into the hand of a good person, you are protected and preserved. It will be easy for you to become what God has planned for you to be. When you enter into the wrong hands, that's how they pursue you until they destroy you. She entered into the hand of a good auntie, who now went and hid him until 6 years later, when Jehoiada the priest arranged for him to come and become the king, and took authority from Athaliah. Personally, I am a victim, or we say I was a victim of dependence on the caregivers, the risk of the youth, because of their dependence, because of their vulnerability in the hands of the caregivers. I was born into a home where you don't decide where you're born into. So sometimes maybe be your parents that are the caregivers talking about. My own was that the power that my father's house wanted me to replace my dad. And several things happened, and when I was still a child, they were going to graveyard because they wanted me to take over. The stool of necromancy was in my place, and I was supposed to take over the stool of that stool of necromancy from my father's grandmother. And so they were going to her grave and other graves. They were going to the graveyard to get the sand and the leaves they would put in water to use to birth me, so that I could be acclimatized with the environment of the dead, so that as far as I was as a child, as I was growing up, and naturally I stayed in the land of the living as well as in the land of the dead. The dead were visiting me every time, so it was natural for me, for the dead to relate with me. The necromancy was already set in place for me to take over the stool. If somebody was going to die, I would know it. Because my grandmother would, before every person dies in my town, the person would pass through our house. And then she allowed you to die, you die. If she allowed you to die, you will go. When she got old, she would keep a stick around her. When the person comes, she would call you by name and chase you back. If she was able to chase you back, you will not die. But if she wasn't able to chase you back, she now scream, "Hey, so has died though." In the next 1 hour or 30 minutes, they will ring the bell, the town bell, and so had died because she was not able to chase the person back. And so that was supposed to be the one I would inherit that rubbish. And so, several things were done for me. Sometimes things were done for me in the night seasons. In the night, I walk naked in the night from the place to the place where the ritual will be done. I walk naked and I won't look back. There were times the rituals they called me by name, and I was saying, sometimes because they affected me with sicknesses that were not curable. Several times I would go to the hospital and the sicknesses will stay and not go. And then they will now take me to my father's temple and I start doing the rituals. I thought they were healing me. I didn't know that these were the progressive initiations for me. Progressive initiations for me. So by the time I had gone to a certain level, my father said that no power could reverse what I had done. I said he has could reverse what he has done on my head. They had gone from the initiations. But it seemed as if it was healing. And they were getting deposits into me. And any person who was in our house was me. So particularly I was singled out because the devil chose me. And so the caregivers, my mother, they would bring out the things that they would cook for me. Sometimes all manner of things, lizard, all manner of creeping terrible things. They would cook, because I had pots. My own pot was separate from other people's pots. My own was earthen pots, or I will not touch the ground, all forms of rituals that must be done, strict rules that must be done about how my food was prepared. I was eating separate from the family because I was singled out for the evil assignments. They were eating meat. At the time they were eating meat, I would be eating, what do you call it? Lizard, agama lizard. People were paid to be bringing the lizard for the rituals that would be done for me. And other animals, when it was time for rats, rats will be eating food, that's what I will be eating. Because the spirit says so. And I was from childhood now. And so, by the time I now repented, I now gave myself to God, everything, the powers came to haunt my life. And so that it's now said that because of this thing that happened, it was never easy for me to do God's work, because the powers would come to demand allegiance. Several times when I would sit down, the powers said they will come and say, if I say in just in my body, say, no, your father gave you to us. You cannot. Your father gave you to us and delivered to us. I would sit down and numerous demons would just fill the whole place. Because my caregivers handed me over to the devil. When I didn't even know how to say A or B. From the first day, my mother told me began from the first day I was born. Once I was delivered in a shrine. They took me and brought me back the next day. When they did the rituals 24 hours, then from there, the rituals now became sequential, as the spirit demanded. And so you see, these things will expose you to things that will fight your life, fight your destiny, fight your purpose in life, fight your speed, fight your ability to enter into your destiny. They will delay you. They will set you back. Because one others will be, you can't run with a limping leg. One others that are relatively freer are running. You want to run, they will draw you back. They will draw you back and bring delay to your life. You know, Isaiah chapter 22, Isaiah 24, verse 2 says, and it shall be as with the people, so with the priest, as with the servant, so with his master, as with the maid, so with her mistress, as with the buyer, so with the seller, as with the lender, so with the borrower, as with the taker of usury, so with the giver of usury, as with the master, as with the servant, as with the maid, as with her mistress. You see? If the madam is occult, obviously you will not. I think there was this guy there was this guy that was in school that time. He was very poor. He always had just one or two clothes. His clothes was uniform. He was wearing the same thing every time. And so a time came when the room he was placed in, he was so poor, drinking all the time, not going to ref. He knew where he came from and he was staying alone. But he had a rich roommate who was a very good person too. So the boy was always giving, once in a while, the boy was always giving him things, give him this, give him that. And so the first term, second term, he was very poor. So the boy now said, my mother can help you. He said, no, he doesn't want. He just wants to face his business. He said, my mother can help you. That's so much money. She said he was the only child of the mom, and the mother could help him. And he should just, with all the money in the house, why was he going to be suffering? He would give the boy clothes, he would give him food. Eventually one day he introduced the boy to the mom. And from that time on, during the holiday sessions he would go to the house and stay. First year went, second year went, third year, 4-year course, third year. Once entered the fourth year, and then they came for holidays. The woman now told him that he was going to escort him somewhere. He has always been doing that now. The woman will go to market, he say, you are going to market with me. He will go to market and come back, because for almost 3 years now. Then the woman now said, he went. As they were going, he said that they went. He said, Mommy, where are we going? We'll soon reach, we'll soon be there. And she and the guy, they drove They drove to a far distance. They drove, when they reached one gate like gate of heaven and earth. They hooted the horn, she hooted the horn, and then they opened the gate and she entered. And that place, she drove far and met another gate, 3 gates, By the time they now entered, she now saw people, males who were there, bodyguards, people who were wearing red, attired red, with a something that looked like an altar. They said, "Mommy, what are we doing here?" I said, "You will soon see what I